Take a look at these three powerful men. They all come from different backgrounds, but they have many things in common. They wield their power, they're very influential, and they're very rich. But not all sides of them were so innocent and so great. There was a darker, deeper side of them.
So which side do you see?
Hey everyone, welcome to Studio 7L. We'll introduce ourselves.
Yes, it's your girl, Shirok.
And you can call me Ed or as you, that's cool. And today we have a good one, Shirok, as we mentioned in the intro, is what side do you see of these powerful men?
Yeah.
But before we get into that...
Yes, this is for entertainment and education purposes only. Please do your own research and always be kind to everyone, friends, family, strangers.
Everyone, everywhere. And thank you guys so much for hanging with us. And if you could see on our screen here, let me switch over to our display screen. You could see that now chatting with AI Conversation Juniper. This is one of the many AI technologies that we use behind the scenes, but we're going to have a live conversation with her later and discuss some aspects to this case or to these gentlemen that we're about to discuss. Okay, let's get into it. So we're going to talk about, can you name them off, Shirok?
Yes, this is P. Diddy, a.k.a. Sean Puffy Combs. And then we have Jeffrey Epstein. And then we have R. Kelly.
And you can see here that PK or P. Diddy, Sean Combs. He has so many freaking names. Anyhow,
yeah, so this basically...
He was brought up in Harlem, New York City.
He was brought up in Harlem. And also Jeffrey Epstein was brought up in New York City.
And then R. Kelly, Chicago.
Chicago, Illinois.
So let's compare and contrast these guys first. So children-wise, so it's interesting, P. Diddy, has a lot of children, 7 that we know of. We have Quincy Taylor Brown, Justin Dior Combs, Christian King Combs, Chance Combs, the Lila Star Combs twins with Jesse James Combs, and Love Sean Combs.
Right. And just to be clear, the first Quincy, he adopted him. That was from his first girlfriend, but he actually adopted him as his own, which was great.
And then for Jeffrey Epstein, no children, no biological children that we are aware of. Okay. And then with R. Kelly, he had 3 kids, Joanne Kelly, Jayla Kelly, and Robert Kelly Jr. So this gives you a little background to these men in their personal life, family life, to kind of give you some background. A lot of people see this part of their character.
Yes.
And then number of marriages. Yes. So P. Diddy, a.k.a. Sean Combs, was never married.
Right. He was really never officially married.
Okay. Even though he had these long relationships and kind of simulated marriage, he was actually never physically married.
Right. And Jeffrey Epstein was never married as well. And
then R. Kelly has been married twice to singer Aaliyah and an Andrea Lee, a former backup dancer. That'll get you meeting somebody on the job. So actively involved in their children's life. Again, this goes back to their home life, their personal, behind the scenes from their stardom. So P. Diddy, yes, had close relationship with the children. Epstein, obviously, it's not applicable because he never had any children. And R. Kelly, children have publicly distanced themselves from him. And I'm sure we'll touch upon that a little bit later.
Yes.
But children careers of entertainment, yes. Quincy and Christian have followed in his footsteps, pursuing entertainment industry and music. It also reminds you of like somebody like Will Smith. There's many others that have followed suit with that as well. Epstein, of course, not applicable. And then R. Kelly, yes. His eldest child, Joanne Kelly, a.k.a. Buku Abi, pursuing a career in music industry. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know much about that music for either one of them. But so it's interesting to see the obviously somewhat closeness, or at least, based on what they do, whether they have closeness or not, the children trying to, follow in their father's footsteps to a certain degree. So now we're going to get into abuse of power. So yes, for P. Diddy, and then Jeffrey Epstein and R. Kelly. So just to mention the public, well, first let's talk about P. Diddy Combs regarding his abuse of power. Recently, he was charged with sex trafficking, racketeering, and other federal offenses. The prosecutors allege that Combs used his power and prestige to orchestrate all this emotional and physical abuse against the people around him. These allegations span over a decade in multiple states. And again, we recorded stuff wicked early. So as of right now, he's still in jail. They denied him bail. He's on suicide watch. And there's a lot to this. So that's some relatively new news. A lot of people are very interested in that case. So, but the public backlash has played a significant role in bringing the actions to the forefront of the public consciousness through investigations. And I think a lot more people are coming forward, and we give them a lot of credit. They're very brave because, there's threats of violence and people getting killed for having that information.
Right. They're utilizing the Me Too Act that was just implemented. Yeah.
The release of the documentary for Jeffrey Epstein, Filthy Rich, fueled by public outrage, detailing the stories of his victims, is, take a look at those series, but you have a strong stomach. It's pretty disgusting, especially if you've been traumatized by anything like this in, your personal life. Definitely be careful watching some stuff. Could be disturbing. And R. Kelly, in the recent documentary Surviving R. Kelly, played a significant role in bringing widespread attention again to numerous allegations of abuse and misconduct against him. Same type of things. I would warn, if people have been in an abusive situation, be careful with some of these documentaries. They could be triggers. So I just want to, be sensitive to that fact. Cultural impact. Yeah. So for P. Diddy, music industry, fashion, business ventures, philanthropy, media, entertainment, culture icon. I mean, he's
that can go on and on.
I don't mean to be funny, but he has his hand in more things, physically and logically. I mean, he likes to get himself really involved in many different areas. He's almost like a portfolio entrepreneur in a way.
Yeah.
And then for Epstein, increased awareness of sexual abuse, public outrage, and activism, media, documentary. I mean, his thing was all about, power and connections, who he knew. And you see that in these documentaries and the people he hang around with. I mean, it was definitely also like P. Diddy and R. Kelly, definitely a power trip. And R. Kelly, music industry, business ventures, philanthropy, media, entertainment, cultural icon, similar.
Yes.
They all have similar power trips for sure. Would you agree, Shirok?
Yes, definitely. They all have similar power trips. And one thing, we could also talk about is that, one follows the other too. So it's kind of interesting.
Exactly. Okay, we're going to get on to
The
profession. So again, multifaceted rapper, recording producer, like I said, successful entrepreneur. Sorry, that was like a little Freudian slip actually with him. Sorry. Ventures in fashion, clothing, clothing line. I know he invested in some spirits and some alcohol related products, various other business endeavors, actor, television producer, all kinds of stuff. And then Epstein was a financier. He began his career as a teacher, but later moved into the finance sector. And of course, just throwing money around and making a lot of connections. I wish I could put BS artist in there, but I guess that's not a profession. R. Kelly, singer, songwriter, and record producer. So prior criminal history, this is interesting to know, 1999 club New York shooting. That's when he was with J-Lo.
Yes.
That's in Chirac's old block, really.
Yeah.
Not really, Chirac grew up in around the same time frame. I think you saw her on the bus a couple times too before her fame.
Yeah, definitely seen her. Yeah, she definitely was a go-getter, always being busy.
So she was J-Lo, and that's all percolating again. We'll get into that in another show. 2007 assault allegations, and of course there's other allegations popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
With J. Epstein, the 2005 parent reported sexually based on her 14-year-old daughter. 2008 plea deal convicting of procuring a child for prostitution and soliciting a prostitution. So that's disgusting. I don't even want to talk about that. So again, saying R. Kelly in 94 illegally married a 15-year-old singer.
Leah.
Oh my goodness. 96 sued by Tiffany Hawkins. Oh, I say the name right, for personal injuries and emotional distress. And in 2002, indicted on 21 counts of child pornography. Just disgusting. I mean, I didn't.
Yeah, this is just.
I mean, we got to talk about this stuff so people are aware, but it really bothers me. Both Shrock and I, our children are older, but it still doesn't matter. To think of this and destroying innocent life is just the most evil. Was there a sentence or jail time? Look at this, guys. We know that Epstein was, on his way, or kind of like sort of going to be getting jail time, but never did. But look at this. No, no, and no. And we'll talk about that later. That is disgusting. What did they do? So for Combs, we mentioned trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, transportation to engage in prostitution. Epstein, same type of trafficking, minors, and conspiracy to commit sex trafficking of minors. And then R. Kelly convicted on 8 counts of trafficking and 1 count of racketeering. Did they confess? P. Diddy did not make a confession at this point in time. He didn't say he didn't do anything wrong. Epstein didn't make a full confession. And, R. Kelly did make some personal admissions. Song, I admit, he does not confess to any criminal wrongdoing related to serious allegations against him. Are there potential witnesses? Yes. And this is what's sad. So if you compare all this data to the previous, do they really do any real damage? The answer is no. And Epstein had numerous potential witnesses, including the victims. And it's just very sad. Absolutely. And then prison sentence, like P. Diddy, potentially faces a sentence of life in prison. We'll have to wait and see. A lot of power and money. You hate to say it, but let's see what happens. Jeffrey Epstein, 14 months in custody throughout his legal troubles before his death. But, again, didn't get sentenced because he, quote, unquote, died. R. Kelly, 31 years. Known to be violent? Yes. No physical violence for Jeffrey Epstein. And yes, known to be violent. How much are they worth? Well, P. Diddy in 2019, $740 million. In 2024, $855 million estimated. You always say, they always talk, he has $1 billion. So he has close to it. I don't know at what point, if he did, how much he's worth now. Epstein in 2019, $577 million. And R. Kelly, 2019, $100 million in 2024, and $1 million in estimated now. So he's lost a lot of money. I just wanted to make one clarification, Shrock, as we're going through this. So you said R. Kelly got prison sentence of 31 years, but I thought in the previous one it said there was no prison time.
There was no prison time at that time. This is, if you look at those dates, there was an old dates, 2007 and 1996. Okay. So this is current. This is 2019 current. So they had some history before, but, of course, everything just was swept under the rug. But now, and that's very clear. I'm glad you asked that question.
Yep. Yeah, I wanted to say that.
See, that's the problem. If they could have stopped, maybe it wouldn't have led to this in 2024. It wouldn't have led to this. So they did something, and they got away with it. And that's what you see on the last slide. So that's why there was no conviction time. Now they continue to do it. So if you notice those dates, that's back in 1994, 1996. Yes, things happen. He got away with it. There was no conviction. But sometimes they have so much power and they think they just untouchable. Now they doing stuff in 2019, 2000, and then now they are getting convicted. And R. Kelly definitely between 30 years and 31 years, it says, and it depending on what you look at for AI and all the research, because all of this is on the internet. But he definitely is doing that at least 3 decades.
Unbelievable. So thank you for clarifying, because I know some people would be thinking, I'm going through the slides.
So that's why I did that pass, and this is the present.
That's good.
So this is the present
I like
now.
that. That's awesome. All right. So let's get into some of the final common themes here. You see entrepreneurial, they're all influential, they're wealthy,
Wealthy,
powerful,
powerful,
and then, the
sex
trafficking.
trafficking is a
So what
common
are some
theme.
of the common traits here? They're very controlling people.
Mm-hmm.
They do have a lot of authority.
Authority.
And they're dominant.
Yeah.
So we want to say, and we try to do this when we hit these very sensitive subjects.
Mm-hmm.
If you know anything, or if you're suffering from anything, something like this, or you know somebody, here's the National Human Trafficking information. Please take a snapshot, or please give a call. If you don't know, if you're like, well, I'm not sure if I really fit in this
You can
category,
still ask.
or if it's
Yeah.
not that bad, talk to somebody. There's no harm in at least talking to somebody. So give the benefit of the doubt and make the phone call. At least it'll leave your mind. So definitely do that.
Yes, and just to add to that, if you know you don't want to do something and someone is asking, because I've just been a little bit in the entertainment business myself. I did a little bit of acting, and I remember vividly that my I was going out on like just to do auditions, right? And basically what happened is like they give me a little heads up. Like this guy is kind of he's kind of frisky, is some of the words,
Mm-hmm.
or he may touch you. So sometimes, that happens, and you should be like, okay, I don't think I want to do this. You have the authority to say no. But some people, they are desperate for that fame and that, oh man, this person can make me rise to the top.
Yeah.
So sometimes, and some people just like, let me just take a little bit of the beating, but you really shouldn't. But now things are definitely changing in 2024 versus back things when I was back in the way back when.
We won't say
You
when.
won't say the year, but
Well,
yeah.
actually,
Yeah, so basically a lot of
Yeah.
things is changing, and a lot of things has definitely changed, and you have the right. If you're talented, it should show. So, yep. So my agent is the one that always would send me on, just send me on places to go, and he always just gave me heads up, which was good as well. So
but some
sometimes
people already have that.
and I
so.
had the courage, and I was like, you know what? Well, this one I'm going to pass. This is I'm going to pass, because I just felt like,
Don't put yourself in that situation. Try to
Exactly.
avoid those situations.
and if you think it's going to happen once, it's not. They're going to see how you are, and then next thing you know, it's going to continue to happen.
So thank you so much, Rock, for that, because I think people do have to share their stories to help other people. So thank you so much. And again, there's the big screenshot of it. We're going to move on. Now, in the next segment, we're going to start chatting with our AI personality, Juniper, and that's coming up right now.
Stay tuned.
Okay, let's ask Juniper our questions here. Let me get my questions up, my little cheat sheet. Okay, here we go. What methods are commonly used by traffickers to control their victims?
Human traffickers use a range of manipulative tactics to control their victims. These methods often include physical violence, threats of harm to the victim or their loved ones, emotional abuse, and isolation from support networks. They may also use psychological manipulation, such as convincing victims they owe a debt or creating feelings of dependence. Some traffickers exploit vulnerabilities like immigration status, addiction, or fear of law enforcement to keep victims compliant. Traffickers may also withhold basic needs, like food or medical care, to maintain control. It's a complex and devastating situation for those caught in it. Were you looking for more specific information about any of these tactics?
What are the psychological effects of trauma experienced by individuals who have been victims of sex trafficking?
The psychological effects of trauma for individuals who have been victims of sex trafficking can be profound and long lasting. Common effects include post traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Victims may experience flashbacks, nightmares, and severe anxiety. They might feel constantly on edge or be triggered by things that remind them of the trauma. Depression and anxiety, feelings of hopelessness, deep sadness, and worthlessness are common. Anxiety can manifest as panic attacks, fear of authority figures, or intense worry over safety. Dissociation. To cope with extreme abuse, victims may disconnect from reality, experiencing gaps in memory, a sense of numbness, or feeling detached from their own identity or body. Shame and guilt. Many victims feel a misplaced sense of shame or guilt about what happened, often because traffickers manipulate them into believing the abuse was their fault. Trust issues and social isolation. Trauma often leads to difficulty trusting others, especially figures of authority or intimate partners. This can result in social withdrawal and difficulty forming healthy relationships. Substance abuse. Some victims turn to drugs or alcohol to numb their pain, either as a coping mechanism or because traffickers used addiction as a method of control. Self harm or thoughts. The overwhelming emotions and psychological scars can lead to self destructive behaviors, including self harm or ideation. Healing from these effects requires comprehensive and trauma informed support, including therapy, medical care, and often legal advocacy. Is there a specific area you'd like to explore further?
What are the mechanisms and conditions that contribute to an individual's vulnerability when it comes to trafficking?
Several mechanisms and conditions make individuals more vulnerable to trafficking, particularly in the case of sex trafficking. These factors often intersect, creating a complex web of vulnerability. Key contributors include 1. Poverty. Economic hardship is one of the biggest risk factors. People in impoverished situations may be lured by promises of employment, financial security, or education, only to find themselves trafficked. 2. Lack of education and job opportunities. Individuals with limited access to education or decent job prospects may feel pressured to accept risky opportunities, making them easy targets for traffickers. 3. Previous abuse or neglect. Victims of childhood abuse, neglect, or domestic violence often have lower self esteem and a greater sense of helplessness, which traffickers exploit. 4. Homelessness or lack of stable housing. Without a safe place to live, individuals, especially youth, are more likely to fall into the hands of traffickers who promise shelter and protection. 5. Addiction. Traffickers often prey on individuals struggling with addiction, offering drugs or exploiting their dependency as a means of control. 6. Immigration status and language barriers. Undocumented immigrants or individuals who don't speak the local language are particularly vulnerable. They may not understand their rights, fear law enforcement, or be dependent on traffickers for work, housing, or protection. 7. Gender and sexual orientation. Women and girls are more frequently targeted for sex trafficking, though men and boys are also affected. LGBTQ plus individuals, especially transgender people, are often more vulnerable due to social stigma and discrimination. 8. Family instability. Growing up in a dysfunctional family environment or being part of the foster care system increases vulnerability. Traffickers often prey on youth seeking emotional support and belonging. 9. Psychological vulnerability. Individuals with mental health issues or developmental disabilities can be more easily manipulated and coerced. 10. War, conflict, or natural disasters. These events create instability and displacement, increasing the likelihood of exploitation as people flee their homes and communities, often lacking support or protection. Traffickers are adept at identifying and exploiting these vulnerabilities, using false promises, manipulation, and coercion to trap individuals. The intersection of multiple vulnerabilities increases the risk significantly. Would you like to dive deeper into any of these factors?
Well, what are the warning signs someone should look out for to avoid being sex trafficked?
There are several warning signs that can help individuals recognize potential risks of being trafficked or manipulated into sex trafficking. Being aware of these signs can be crucial. Some key indicators include too good to be true opportunities. If a job or opportunity promises large amounts of money with little effort, it may be a red flag. Isolation from friends and family. If someone tries to cut off your connections with loved ones or limits your social interactions, it's a warning sign. Inconsistent stories. If someone gives vague or conflicting information about their background, job, or situation, it might indicate deceit. Pressure to comply. Feeling pressured to act against your instincts or to go along with something that makes you uncomfortable is concerning. Signs of coercion or control. If someone appears to be overly controlling, monitoring your activities, or making decisions for you, it's a warning sign. Lack of freedom. If you notice someone seems to have little control over their own life, such as not being allowed to leave a location freely, it could indicate trafficking. Unexplained physical signs. Bruises, injuries, or signs of physical abuse can indicate coercion or violence. Fearful behavior. If someone seems fearful, anxious, or submissive around certain individuals, it might suggest they are being controlled or threatened. Financial dependence. If a person is made to feel they owe a debt or rely heavily on someone for basic needs, they might be at risk. Staying alert to these signs and trusting your instincts can be vital in avoiding potential trafficking situations. Have you heard of any specific cases or stories that made you curious about this?
So that goes
Yes.
into our show, in terms of what we covered today. So I want to thank Juniper, our AI conversation person, for those questions that we asked. And what we're hoping is that between what Shirok has mentioned and what she shared, and then the information through the hotline and through the AI conversation we had, hopefully there's some valuable information you guys can share if you know if anybody in this situation. But what I wanted to do as we wrap up, Shirok, is talk about just your overall what you want to talk about in conclusion with this topic today with these three powerful guys. What are your some observations?
Yes. So first, one thing is that I always think sex trafficking is going to exist as long as we're on this earth. At some level, I'm just hoping it will decrease. But I know for a fact it would not go away.
Right.
That's one thing. And definitely, due to a lot of trafficking, immigration, people are coming here, they're trying to survive. They know they probably even be in sex trafficking, but they feel like they don't have
It's
any way
sad.
out.
They don't have an
And
option.
one thing I also want to say is that even though we give you this information, like call, and you're like, okay, I'll call, and then, maybe I get therapy. They really sometimes need more than therapy. I've been having a lot of challenges because I had foster kids. I get it. And the fact is that they need more than talk. I'm just sorry about that, because
support system.
they need. Okay, yeah, this is not right. Okay, forget all of that gibberish stuff. To go with, they need support. It's like, okay, we have some place for you to stay for tonight. They're looking for financial support, some other support, like a whole hub system that everyone that's in this situation, and everybody can help each other. But it's just sad because it's something that even though I can talk about for days, it just seemed like it's still going to exist. What do you think?
Yeah, they need a path. They need a roadmap out. They need the guidance. It's just not, oh, show them the therapy, they'll be okay. Or, oh, they'll get over it. They need some guidance and some kind of roadmap. Unfortunately, to your point, Shirok, as long as human beings will exist, there always will be good people and bad people in every genre and everywhere. So unfortunately, what we can do is try to reduce it and get better, and to have those programs and have the awareness and try to reduce it. Now, one of the things that if you guys notice between the three, going back to the original three powerful men, you could see it took a very long time. Yeah, you know exactly what I was going to say.
A long time.
For these guys to get even some kind of justice. And why? It's because of their power and their money.
Exactly.
And that can only provide a shield for so long. And then after that, the walls crumble. But it's so sad that it takes so long and they go through so much damage, like almost like a tornado.
And it seems like they have an addiction, right? It's not going to stop. So they have to be caught, because it's like, okay, we'll give you a pass, but then they continue to do it and they just think they're above the law.
Exactly.
Evidently, you're above the law, but you're behind the bars now too. So.
Exactly. So we're going to switch gears and want to say thank you guys so much. And if you made it this far, Shirok and I are gearing up. I know we're doing our episodes early, but there's two things. If you notice, we're just doing our releases on Thursdays mostly, unless something hot breaking news comes up. We'll do it on Tuesdays or live streams. But we're doing it on Thursdays for two things. We're getting a holiday season. And number two, next year, we got a whole cool new format. At the end of December, we're going to throw it out. We're going to show you exactly what we're going to do. Obviously, we're still going to do the true crime and all that stuff, but it's the format change. I think you guys are going to really, really like it. And so a lot more AI. Let's just put it that way. We're integrating some things, but we really appreciate you guys being here.
And thank you for subscribing, and please subscribe. We're still going to be doing true crime. So we want to be clear on that. I'm glad Ed said that, but I want to reiterate that because that's something people's like, oh, I'm not going to see this anymore. They plan on changing their format. I love their format. No, it's getting bigger and better. Like maybe 4K, something stuff like that. And we're going to, and also just a little bit of that. And plus, making sure
More
everything
stuff.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact is that it's still going to be true crime.
Yeah, it's still going to be us, just a different format, different things, little cool stuff. And also, too, I know a lot of you guys joined us originally from way back when with the Chris Watts stuff. Of course, we do more than just Chris Watts. So even if you really like Chris Watts, hang in there. We have other stuff. I think you're going to really like our season 2 as we approach our 1-year anniversary. We started January 2nd. We started off with some music stuff. We crossed over to true crime. And now we're here with you guys, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And what's the last word?
Studio 70.
You got it.